Hi you guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Torrence, and in today's video, I finally get the chance to show you all my Makeup Geek collection. I am someone who has absolutely loved and adored the Makeup Geek formula since the very first palette I purchased from them years ago, which was the Manny MUA Makeup Geek palette. Love it, never gonna get rid of it. But over the years, there have been a few changes to the brand, and the main selling point of that brand was the single shadows that they sold. Since then, Makeup Geek has branched out and they now offer palettes, and they've also updated the format of their shadows from a circular pan to a square one. And I just wanted to go ahead and show you all of the palettes that I've collected from them throughout the years, as well as the custom palettes that I've built, including my own Matrix palette. And the reason I wanted to show you all these things was because although I love their items, usually the items that I want the absolute most are the ones that are sold out, which included that Matrix palette. And after several months of constantly waiting for it, and when it came back in stock, I either didn't have the money or didn't get the notification in time, I just decided, you know what? Take it back to the old school, buy you a bunch of individuals, and create something that you like. That way it's something customizable to me, no one else in the world has it, and I no longer have to wait. The only thing I have to wait for is for me to put things together. So if you want to see what items I have in my collection from the brand, as well as which ones that I've created myself, just go ahead and continue to watch. Before we get started, I also want to let you all know that I have a tutorial on the look I'm wearing now. This is my no makeup look, and I'll make sure I leave that video linked right here above. But enough with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into these palettes here. Makeup Geek is mostly known for their 9-pan palettes, and the very first one I have from them is this one here. This is their old school packaging. It was all cardboard, and I do believe many times they still use this pattern on things like bronzers and things like that, but I haven't seen a palette, wait, no. This is the format that they use for their circular palettes because they just released a brand new fall, I believe it's like Fall Festival or something like that. I'll probably leave it in the description bar below. But anytime they are using the circular pans, they stick with this packaging here. This one is the Manny MUA palette, a 9-pan palette, and this is what it looks like on the inside. And as you can see, it is a nice neutral palette. It does have a pop of color there with that matte red on the bottom and the middle, as well as that blue-brown shade, which for many people, that shade took off for this palette. It was formerly just a pigment that was sold in loose form, but Manny MUA was able to get them to put it in a pressed format. This bad baby here, Makeup Geek, you all need to bring this back. So it's a pretty good chance they'll never bring this palette back because it was a collab, but I really wish they could bring back each individual shade in the new format. The next palette we have here is called In the Nude. It has the same packaging as the previous palette, as you can see. The difference is this is a neutral palette that, in my opinion, it really did flop because many people saw it and was like, although we like neutrals, we like basic, many people felt as if this was just a little too neutral for their liking. But one thing I can tell you is the color selection and the quality of these shadows are so beautiful, and every time I wear it, I get so many compliments that if for any reason I were to get married and someone told me this is the only palette you can have for that day, I wouldn't be upset. Although I know I would be testing out different formulas, different looks, I would not be hurt or upset at all to find out this is the palette I had to wear for my wedding day. It is just that pretty to me. It gives you a chance to be dramatic if you like, but you don't necessarily have to do that because these are very soft colors. And I did reorganize mine here, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you what these shades are. I have them here lined up in a row. We have one here, a warm toned row, a more pinky row, as well as a darker brown row here. And I can usually just do transition, crease, and a lid shade. Starting on the top left, working our way to the right, Rapunzel, In the Spotlight, Grandstand, So Pale, Buffed, Tan Lines, Creased, Cabin Fever, Dark Roast. And I'm telling you, this palette, it is so pretty, but I hate the fact that every time I wear this, I have to let the person know, although it's beautiful, it's been discontinued, and they'll more than likely have to buy the individual shades to try to recreate this palette. The next two are custom palettes that I made with individual shadows. At one point in time, they used to have different bundles and things. I know a lot of these came from a Halloween bundle one year, but I wanted to go ahead and make different palettes with them just based on what shades were left. The first one is a custom trio here. This is a small Z palette that holds 3 shadows. I'm someone who's a very big fan of blue jeans, so this design was very pretty to me. This palette here contains 3 shades. The first 2 on the left are matte. The one on the right is a satin. Left to right, we have the shades Pumpkin, Corrupt, and Surf's Up. Next up, I have a 9-pan palette here. This is also a Z palette container that holds 9 shades, and all 9 shades in here have a shimmer or a foil finish to them. The bulk of these shadows are green shades just because greens are my favorites. The rest of the shades are just shimmer shades that I just happen to collect over the years. And the name of these shades left to right are Limelight, Jester, Blew My Mind, Secret Garden, Venom, Chit Chat, Stardust, Prism, Nostalgia. The next 6 palettes I'm going to show you are going to be all square pans. The first one is going to be what I call it the reject palette, just simply because I had nowhere to put these 2, but I needed to put them somewhere. The next 5 palettes will have a specific name and theme to them, and the colors in that should reflect that one. First up, we have what I called, once again, the reject palette, simply because this was 2 transition shades. I just could not figure out where to place them. Although the formula is beautiful, and I may add 2 other shades to it in the future to create a whole new look, as of right now, they're just sitting to the side simply because I don't have these in my collection anywhere else, and I may come out with a use for them in the future. But this container here can be purchased at MakeupGeek, or you can buy it at Target pre-filled with 4 different shadows. And this is what the compact looks like here. At most, you're going to get 4 shades into this. And here's what those 2 shades look like. As you can see, they're more on the cool tone neutral side. And the names of those 2 shades left to right are Beach Please and Bedrock. Next up, I have a single shadow here. I wanted to go ahead and make sure I created a palette that only had 1 shade to remind me to do a 1 shadow look. And this color here is called Blew Me Away. It's just 1 simple blue shadow because I'm really not that comfortable with blues and oranges. So I wanted to go ahead and make sure I created something that I knew would remind me to step out of my comfort zone, as well as create a palette with 1 shadow to remind me to keep things simple. The duo that I custom created is this one here. It's a palette I like to call You Can Grab a Jacket, because with the shade on the left, it's rather warm tone and rather orange. That shade is called Honey Badger. The one on the right is rather warm, leaning toward neutral, and that one is called Latte as Usual. And I wanted something that could be quick and easy, whether I just wanted to do 1 simple color across the eye. This allows me to go warm or neutral. And once again, it forces me to step outside of my comfort zone, because although I like warm tone shadows, I'm not the biggest fan of oranges. So this once again reminds me to step out of my comfort zone, and also reminds me to keep things simple with it only being 2 matte shades. Next up, we have the very first custom quad, and I like to call this one Cool Times, because this is a cool tone palette. We have 4 different shades, and with this one, I purposely added this blue just because I don't see it as a straight up blue. It does have some green undertones, which makes me feel a little more comfortable. And because black is my second favorite eyeshadow color behind green, I wanted to make sure for a cool tone palette, I went very bright with the white, very dark with the black, and then made sure I had the coolest tone shadow that I could find in the collection, which is that gray shade. And to me, no other color was necessary for this palette besides either a brown or a blue, so I went ahead and added that. And the name of these shades left to right is White Lies, Seize the Day, Clean Slate, Corrupt. And I almost forgot to tell you all, I could not think of a name for this single blue shadow here. And because the name of the shadow is called Blew Me Away, I just nicknamed this palette You Blew Me Away because I really couldn't come up with anything for it. Next up, we have our first 9-pan palette, and I like to call this one Any Day, Every Day. And that is because this is a neutral palette, and although I am someone who truly loves and appreciates my colorful looks, every now and then it's best to keep things laid back and toned down and stick with a neutral palette. And I wanted to create something that did not have a black in it, just because I try to refrain from using black whenever I use neutral shadows, because it can take it from being soft and glam to dark and dramatic really, really fast. So I've been trying to tell myself in the back of my head, every neutral palette doesn't need a black Torrence. I ain't 100% with believing that just yet, but I get closer and closer as the days go by because I love matte blacks and shimmery greens. Those two, I don't think I can ever tell now. And I want to give you a view of the compact here. It comes in this hard plastic case that folds up. There is no button or anything, you just pull the top up. And this is what this 9-pan palette looks like. As you can see, I tried to keep things rather warm toned, but I did pop a few cool tone shades in there just in case I want to switch things up and not have to switch palettes. But for me, this is the definition of a warm neutral palette that I can use any day and every day. And I was surprised that I only added 2 shimmer shades because I'm a huge fan of mattes. And I figured I'm either going to be on one end or the other with this. I didn't want to add anything like any pinks or purples. I wanted to try to keep this as neutral as possible. And the name of these shades left to right are Peach Smoothie, Chickadee, Brick House, Flamethrower, Give Me the Dirt, Grandstand, Creme Brulee, Cheetah Bear, Coffee Before Talkie. And not for Big Mama, my custom Matrix palette. Honey, I wanted the MakeupGeek Matrix palette from the moment I saw it, but the price tag was like, who got that? Who got that kind of money, honey? You ain't got that kind. So what I did, because I could not afford to go in and buy it all at one time, I slowly but surely started buying either quads or single shadows and putting them to the side. And then when I eventually had enough to fill up this palette, I decided to buy the empty palette and rearrange the shades to my liking. And I promise you, I am so happy I did it this way instead of purchasing the one that they sell, because this palette here truly gives me the opportunity to show off which colors I like from the brand instead of just taking a palette that the brand likes. I want to give you a closer view of this palette here because there are 28 shades. And just like with the original one, I have them lined up in columns. And I love it because each column has a different color story here. I have all greens here. The second column is a more vibrant array of greens, including this bright yellow here to accentuate those. Next, even though I'm not the biggest fan of blues, I still wanted to add them because I have this yellow here and I can mix those to create my own custom green. I have a row of dark jewel tone purples as well as a row of more neutral purples. I have this row here, which is a row of soft pinks, as well as a row of peachy shades here. I wanted something in this palette that could potentially bring out a little bit of orange by having this yellow and this red and this shade here, but oranges just don't do it for me, and I would have rather had those in those first 2 smaller palettes just so I can branch into it. But I want to go ahead and give you the shade names of all of these. And with this, oh, I done gouged her right there. Look. When I give you the shade names of this, I'm going to start with each column and work from the top and work my way down. And although this does have 28 shades in this palette, only the top 7 from here on over are shimmer. Even this top one here is a matte. And the main reason I chose to create a mostly matte palette here, because in the past with their circular pans, I created a palette that was completely shimmer. But I did not want to do that with all mattes here. I still wanted to be able to use this as an all over face palette. On those days, I did not want to go neutral, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the shade names now. And please excuse me because I have all of the names written right here on the back, so that's the only way I can see them. So I may not be staring at the camera for this portion. Top to bottom we have Meant to Be, Olive You, Spilled Tea, Enchanted Forest. Second row we have Illuminati, Potential, Transform, Time Travel. For the third row we have Medieval, Code Blue, Tenacious, Indestructible. For this middle row we have Mystical, Current Obsession, Invincible, Eternally Grateful. And I like how they use that wordplay to say grateful. For the fifth row we have Daydreamer, Blushing Beauty, On Wednesdays, Courageous. In the sixth row we have Whimsical, Prim and Proper, Cupcake, Pinky Promise. And in the last row we have In the Spotlight, Peach for the Stars, another wordplay on fruit, Staycation, Hot Tamale. And that, my friends, is my entire Makeup Geek collection. I really could not wait to show you all these palettes because I've been saving up for months to make sure that I could create them. I knew if I wanted them for my birthday, there was no way possible to cash out and spend it all at one time. But I wanted to show you all these palettes so that you all can vote down below in the comment section and let me know which palette do you want to see a tutorial on first. Whether it be one of the older palettes in the circular pans or one of the newer ones and the square ones, I wanted to share with you all and make sure you all had the choice on deciding which one goes first, because for me, they all are special, so I don't mind using any of them. Also, don't forget to leave me a comment letting me know if you have any products from Makeup Geek, because I absolutely love the brand. And now to find out that many of their products are sold in Target makes it a little bit easier for me to get a hold of many of their items. But I really hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And with that being all for today, I hope you all remember to practice, continue to stay blessed, and until next time, goodbye YouTube.